Hey Browns fans, we have a lot to discuss here, but before we get started on today's big discussion, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest Browns news. Now, let's start by talking about the buzz surrounding Shedeur Sanders and whether he could be the Browns' next big move in the NFL draft. With the second overall pick in hand, the Browns have a big decision to make. Could Shedeur Sanders, one of the most intriguing quarterback prospects in college football, be their guy? The speculation grew even more intense after Sanders announced Cleveland as his first official draft visit. But not everyone is sold on the idea. Local analysts Nick Wilson and Jonathan Petterlin of 92.3 The Fan had very different opinions on what drafting Sanders could mean for the Browns. Wilson raised one big concern: the pressure that would come with drafting Deion Sanders' son. If he's bad here, it's going to hurt a lot more than if any other quarterback is bad here next year, Wilson said. Because you're going to hear about it from Deion every week. Wilson compared this situation to the Browns' decision to trade for Deshaun Watson, emphasizing that Cleveland needs to be extra careful this time around. The concern isn't just about Sanders' talent, but the added spotlight and scrutiny that would follow him. Petterlin, on the other hand, sees it differently. He argues that if Sanders struggles, the Browns would have the flexibility to develop him behind another quarterback. In his eyes, it's a low-risk move because, at worst, the franchise could pivot and adjust its strategy in future drafts. So, Browns fans, what do you think? Would you take a chance on Shedeur Sanders, or do the risks outweigh the potential reward? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's talk about an interesting question. Can Cleveland follow the Philadelphia Eagles' blueprint to success? We all know the Eagles have been one of the best-run franchises in the NFL over the last few years, winning a Super Bowl and consistently staying in contention. Their strategy? Spend big money on offense and hit on draft picks to build a strong defense. Now, with free agency and the draft coming up, could the Browns adopt a similar model? Bengals QB Joe Burrow recently pointed out how the Eagles pay everybody and suggested it's a model worth following. The key to Philly's success has been locking down offensive stars with big contracts while relying on the draft to fill out the defense. Right now, 9 of their 11 offensive starters are on major deals, while only 4 defenders are on big contracts. The Browns, however, face a unique challenge. The Deshaun Watson trade cost Cleveland a lot of draft capital, and so far, Watson hasn't lived up to expectations. Without premium draft picks, Cleveland hasn't had the same success in developing young talent on defense. That makes it tough to copy the Eagles' model, at least with this current roster. But looking ahead, could this strategy work for Cleveland? If the Browns focus on locking in key offensive weapons and use future drafts to rebuild their defense, it might just be the path to long-term success. The big question is whether other teams, like the Browns or even the Bengals, can truly replicate what the Eagles have done, or if spreading money across both sides of the ball is a better approach. What do you think, Browns fans? Should Cleveland try to copy the Eagles' model of spending big on offense and drafting defense, or do they need a different strategy? Let us know in the comments. All right, Browns fans, let's talk about something that is sure to stir some emotions. Legendary Cleveland sportscaster Bruce Drennan just dropped a bombshell take, comparing current Browns owner Jimmy Haslam to one of the most infamous figures in Cleveland sports history, Art Modell. Yeah, he went there. Now, we all know Modell's name still sends shivers down the spine of every Browns fan. He's the man who packed up our team and moved them to Baltimore, leaving behind a city heartbroken and betrayed. That wound has never fully healed. But now, Drennan says the animosity toward Haslam is getting dangerously close to the hatred Cleveland had for Modell back in the day. Why? Because under Haslam's ownership, the Browns have been a roller coaster of dysfunction. There's been constant front office turnover, bad coaching hires, and questionable decisions, including the controversial Deshaun Watson trade. Despite some glimpses of promise, the Browns still haven't established themselves as consistent contenders, and fans are tired of the same old cycle. Drennan didn't say Haslam is at Modell levels yet, but he believes frustration is reaching a boiling point. Think about it, Browns fans are some of the most loyal in all of sports, sticking with this team through thick and thin. But patience isn't infinite, and Haslam is dangerously close to testing those limits. Now, let's hear it from you. Do you think Drennan is right? Is the frustration with Haslam getting close to the Modell era? Or do you think it's an unfair comparison? Drop your thoughts in the comments. All right, Browns fans, let's get real. We all know this team should have been in the playoff hunt last season. They're better than their record showed, and if just a few things had gone differently, we might have been talking about a postseason run. But there was one major issue holding the team back: quarterback play. And according to NFL analyst Marcus Mosher, fixing that has to be the Browns' top priority this offseason. In his latest column for the 33rd team, Mosher laid it out plain and simple. Nothing matters for the Cleveland Browns until they get the quarterback position right. And let's be honest, the Deshaun Watson experiment has been a complete disaster. The Browns gave up a ton of draft capital, committed a massive contract, and now Watson is expected to miss the entire 2025 season with an Achilles injury. That's 2 more years of salary cap headaches and limited flexibility to improve the roster. So what's next? Do the Browns go all in on a rookie QB with the number 2 overall pick and hope he becomes the franchise savior? Or do they bring in a veteran, patch things up, and wait for a stronger QB class in the future? One thing is for sure, they can't run it back with the same QB situation as last season. Whether it's through the draft, a trade, or free agency, Cleveland has to make a move. But now, I want to hear from you. Should the Browns take a quarterback at number 2? Or should they roll with a veteran and wait for 2026? Drop your thoughts in the comments. All right, Browns fans, while we're all still buzzing over the quarterback situation and Myles Garrett's trade rumors, there's another big storyline to keep an eye on this offseason: Jedrick Wills Jr. The Cleveland Browns face some tough roster decisions, especially with over $38 million in cap space for 2025, according to Over the Cap. And one of the biggest questions surrounding the team? What's going to happen with Wills? Well, according to Zach Jackson, the New York Times insider, Wills' time in Cleveland may be coming to an end. Here's his prediction. Wills won't be back with the Browns and will play on a 1-year deal elsewhere, assuming he's medically cleared. Ouch. But let's break this down. At just 25 years old, Wills is still a starting caliber left tackle, and he's proven himself in the league. However, injuries have plagued his career since mid-2023, and tensions around his health became evident last November. The Browns had faith in him at one point, even picking up his 5th-year option, but that might not be enough to keep him around. Here's the thing, the Browns are in a tough spot. Cutting ties with Wills would mean an $11.8 million dead money hit, so the team will have to weigh their options carefully. With their cap situation in mind, this offseason will be all about making smart financial decisions, and keeping Wills may not fit into that plan. As much as loyalty to players like Wills is important, the Browns have to focus on building a roster that can compete in the AFC North. It's all about strategic spending. Now, I want to know, what do you think? Should the Browns keep Wills, or is it time to let go and move forward with someone new? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And before you go, make sure to like and subscribe for more Browns news. The offseason is just heating up, and you don't want to miss any of it. Go Browns!